Okay, I think you realize if you know anything about me that I don't like to get into intellectual disputes with my peers in Palestine and Gaza. I certainly don't go shopping for reasons to disagree with them. So it's a little bit grueling of a punishment to have to dispute something that was said, even though I want to be encouraging. Winston Churchill, when he was faced with giving the order to the Calais garrison to duke it out and stall the Nazi advance during the evacuation of Dunkirk, sighed and said one still has to eat. Even though I disagree with this person, one still has to be intellectually honest, no matter what the emotional implications might be. What he said was seemingly innocuous and came over for him as a truism. In many cases, it probably is true. He said, if you're going to write about people, you should live among them. Anthropology is interesting in the evolving views that they have about participating with people whom you're researching, because you have to include the adjustments that are made to each other's behavior as part of the research. But for many, it's better than nothing. The reason why I disagree with it, however, is for one thing, it's a pronouncement about other writers. He said, not if you're researching anthropology, he said, if you're writing for people, you must live among them. It's a pronouncement that affects another person's life. One of the things I've learned about the fabric of the change that has come over our society with Palantir's invasion of privacy, for example, the way that we're being constructed into an AI robotics computer so that Israel can wipe us out, is that it's hardwired into a TikTok war, I call it. It's hard where we all have iPhones. Remember what the Zeos did with the Motorola's? They blew them up. They were sold perfectly innocently to people. And children went blind, and the cheering section in New York was laughing about it. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I know the type. What I call the TikTok war has a long wire of dispatch that starts at the St. Louis newspaper office and ends up at the Kremlin. It's a non-aggression treaty that traces back to Hitler's non-aggression treaty with Stalin. They worked together on the Kennedy assassination, Two Virgins Pussy Ball, and the Texas School Book. And they want you to be answerable to the people who they have deceived. So they say things like, if you're going to write for people, you should be out among them where they can swing at you. Let's say the fact that Gail Burston was never arrested and she has the audacity of hope in the support she enjoys for Kamala Harris. Gail Burston wrote the confession to the AIDS attack, and she's never been arrested. And you're talking about somebody whose life has been affected already. I was tortured by these monsters. But you're also talking about an individual writing within a community, which is to say, if you don't immerse yourself with us, if you don't do like Peter Gabriel and fall into our arms in the crowd, then you're nothing. We should not pay any attention to you. It's said in spite. I'm a deaf person. Deaf people are segregated by society. They are people who are set apart. Whether they want to immerse themselves or don't want to immerse themselves is besides the point. They cannot immerse themselves. We cannot immerse ourselves. So when UW Dialectical makes these pronouncements that they set up so that they can question my sincerity or the truth of what I have to report, the basically ignoring what they always ignore when it comes to me, how I went deaf, and that I am deaf. But really, the main reason I dispute this goes beyond that because I have immersed myself. The presumption that you have to immerse yourself in people you address is phony baloney in my opinion, but I have done so. I was homeless for 2 years. I went to the soup kitchens for years. I volunteered in the clubhouse movement for decades. So what I've learned is I talked during the 80s, it was popular to talk about speaking truth to power. Václav Havel had a famous essay that influenced the Russian dissidents in Pussy Riot called Speak Truth, the Power of the Powerless, in which speaking truth to power was made to be a sign of bravado and courage. I'm familiar with that, but it's a lot more courageous to try to speak truth to the powerless. What Trump has made clear to the whole world is that the powerless cannot stand having truth told to them. They will not tolerate having truth told to them. They demand to be lied to. That was the only thing that they will endure. They lose all semblance of self-control when you try to tell them the truth. What is the point? What is the point of mingling with them? Trump goes anywhere. He mingles at will and lies through the teeth. And that's the society that you're talking about when you say, if you want to write about people, mingle with them, so that if you tell the truth about them, they can murder you. It's absurd theater wrapped up in syllogisms from the sophistry of the left by UW Dialectical, who are increasingly brazen in their fascism. Now, Zappa made a laugh out of Congress when they applauded Václav Havel. He came here from the Velvet Revolution, and they applauded him. And he said they didn't understand a word that he had to say. The person they didn't understand a word of was Zappa because he was manipulating them. He was making a lampoon of both Havel and Congress. He was saying the only thing any of you are going to stand is when Donald Trump arises and starts lying to all of you. Then you'll be perfectly happy to mingle with your Savior, the one person on earth who doesn't have the scruples to tell a slight bit of truth to you. Now, you love that. And Zappa knew that's what you loved. That's why he made a slime jest of Václav Havel while announcing Havel's agency as somehow an intellectual savant who Congress was tricked into applauding. I believe they probably didn't understand a word of him. How could they be the same people who are applauding Nosferatu if they believed a word, understood a word? Well, okay. So, what is the root problem with the idea that if you want to write to or about a people, you should mingle with them, you should immerse yourself in them? I assume that means if you want to be a poet about Gaza, you should live here. I mean, I've read the poets of Gaza and admire that, but it basically comes down to the White Rose phenomenon. When the White Rose were put on trial by Nazi Germany, one of the professors who was associated with these young adults who were all killed by the Nazi Germans for telling the truth to the powerless, said, I'm not a political man in this trial. And the judge said, so then you are not a man after all. You're not a man at all. And that's the idea that comes through from this sly dig that you, if you want to talk about or two people, you must be within machete reach. Now, he didn't say that, but that's the environment that it got conveyed in, because that's the way Seattle is. That's the way it is here in America where I live. If you talk about people against the grain, they team up and spoil everything for you. But what really galls me is that you're making a pronouncement about the meaning of a poet's life, as though to say, despite anything demeaning aspects of existence that they've been forced to endure, because deaf people and poets and Palestinians are chronically humiliated for no good reason whatsoever, but there's always a reason attached. It's a bullshit reason. It's a libelous reason. It's a scandalous reason, and it's a lampoon, but it's always attached. Okay, you're making a pronouncement about another poet's life, as though to say, the poet will arise. You're talking, for one thing, about a 12-year-old girl who I care about. And you're going to say, she's going to, for her sake, her own safety, say, I am a poet, servant of the people. She's not a poet, servant of the people. She doesn't want to be. She's a poet. That's what she is. She can't escape it. It's built into her character in the way that a bird flies. Okay? So you don't make a poet a servant of the people. If a poet serves the people, that's because the poetic muse spoke to the people in a way they can understand and appreciate. That's my opinion. That's all it is. If you take it for truth, it should be because you've thought about it. If you take it as a negotiating standard, something you can say is part true, part not true, maybe it'll give you food for thought. But don't make pronouncements about other people's lives. I, for one, do not relish going out and mingling with the powerless and speaking truth to them, because it's futile. They'd much rather be lied to. That's obvious.